without getting into too personal of details, it's been a week, ladies and gentlemen, and I thought I had it rough. Ace fell. The one shelf I have, I got to work on that because now I'm worried the other ones are going to go down, and I have work and another job that I started up recently. And don't get me wrong, I love both jobs, but it's just, it's that transitional period of putting them both together. And one of them's only seasonal. So it's not like I've been through an entire 3-faction battle where I ended up in the worst trouble and worst case scenario of my life, like a certain little fellow. But we'll talk about that as we get into this week's One Piece chapter summary. Hello, Internet. I am the hero of Julios, here to talk about chapter 1059, The Captain Kobe Incident. And with a title like that, obviously the chapter is going to start off in Wano, in a flashback. But first, we should probably talk about the cover art real quick, because it's a bit of a head-scratcher for me personally. See, it's Katakuri and Oven punching each other due to Caesar's hallucinatory gas. The only reason I have an issue with this is Katakuri's haki lets him see the future. So, wouldn't he have seen that the hallucination would turn out to be his brother? Or maybe hallucinating would affect his haki and he would just see what the hallucination does? Whatever the reason, if the hallucination did affect Katakuri's haki, Caesar's a little more dangerous than we give him credit for, and he was already pretty dangerous to begin with. It's a really good thing he put everything into intelligence and nothing into wisdom. But with that, I believe the Germa 66 are going to get away from Katakuri and subsequently Oven, I guess, and make their way back to wherever it was they were originally going. I actually don't know what the Germa 66 have in store for us. I'm kind of hoping the whole Mads, get the band back together thing still, but for the most part, that's pretty much what's going on. So before our little Wano flashback, we get a brief moment on Sphinx Island where Marco is being dropped off by the red-haired pirates. Shanks once again asking him to join the crew, and Marco politely declining, saying that he's a little too done with being a pirate to babysit a bunch of great pirates like you guys. And even Ben Beckman cannot back up Shanks on this one, that Shanks is definitely irresponsible and impulsive and does whatever he wants and blasts his haki across the map. It's still kind of weird that Shanks just happened to be passing by, blasted his haki out at Wano, and then they just kept sailing. Obviously Marco knew it was them because he flew over, but we get a little brief flashback to Wano, and we find out that Marco had said goodbye to Luffy before sailing off with Shanks. So that was kind of nice. It was nice to see Marco saying hi to Jinbei again, and Luffy finally getting a chance to thank at least one of the Whitebeard pirates for saving him from Akainu. But more importantly than that, we get a true reason for Yamato to stay in Wano. So anyone who had the theory that Yamato was going to stay and be a guardian of Wano, well, congratulations, that actually is what ended up happening. So, due to Momonosuke's pride, Zoro tells Yamato to, hey, don't wound his pride. Yamato says, I'll come up with a different reason. But despite her desire to go out to sea, and despite Luffy being okay with it, Yamato decides to stay in Wano, because, as she said herself, both she and Luffy would not be able to rest easy knowing that Wano still has threats. Because we all know that the only reason Green Bull left is because of Shanks, not because of Momo. I really like this a lot better than the whole, just following Odin's footsteps by going around Wano. It's a great excuse to let Momo and Kinemon, off her scent, but knowing that she's there as, a guardian deity fitting of her devil fruit, it's a lot easier to take than just, whoops, changed my mind. So that's good. And that's pretty much all we see of the Straw Hat crew for the rest of the chapter. Because we get to see Amazon Lily. It is in shambles. Horribly. It has been damaged, ravaged by an intense battle. Boa Hancock's got a big bandage on her head, and she's lamenting the fact that the Navy keeps hounding their island. Sadly, due to Vegapunk and his technology, the Calm Belt is no longer a defensive position, because with the whole sea prism stone and stuff, they can just sail right over them. So, obviously, with a heavy heart, Hancock knows that because she's no longer a warlord, the Marines are going to keep coming for her. She has no choice but to leave Amazon Lily and go marry Luffy. Which apparently, according to Elder Neon, is what she always suggests, so this is really par for the course, but we do get a flashback here. So, a lot of flashbacks going on to exactly what happened on Amazon Lily. And boy, did a lot happen on Amazon Lily. So, a Navy attack led by Vice Admiral Yamakaji is going on across all of Amazon Lily as they're trying to capture Boa Hancock. You know, because the warlords no longer have their status as warlords. By the way, I'll tell you this in a minute, but Hancock's bounty went up, which is pretty cool. But as the attack is going on, the Vice Admiral says, hey, it's time to deploy the pacifistas. The seraphims should be in the front line, and make sure you record everything that happens. Seraphims! Yeah, we'll get to that in just a split second, as the Kuja pirates are just being decimated by one little girl with light hair, dark skin, and black wings. And she has the power to shoot lasers. This is the new model of pacifista, the Seraphim, which looks like a child Lunarian and can shoot the lasers. Because, hey, let's face it, if anything about the Pacifista series, the lasers are just too good to pass up. But again, this little girl by herself, this little cyborg robot, I don't know exactly what the deal is. It's either a robot or it's a cyborg. Because, I don't know, do you consider a Pacifista a cyborg if it doesn't have free will? Or does it just have to have biological parts to be a cyborg? Because I feel like a cyborg has to have free will, otherwise it's just a robot with biological parts. At least that's my opinion. I don't know. Honestly, answer in the comments. Do you think a cyborg has to have free will to be a cyborg, or is it just a robot if it doesn't have free will? Regardless, the little girl is wiping out the Kuja pirates. She is almost invincible. And on top of that, Blackbeard has shown up. You didn't think I was going to say that, did ya? Well, I didn't think I was going to read that in this chapter. Blackbeard shows up because he's looking for Hancock's devil fruit for some reason. Don't get me wrong, the power to turn people to stone is very strong, but you also have to be very attractive to do that. So I'm not exactly sure what Blackbeard's plan is here, unless Blackbeard has a type and he really thinks he is the most attractive man in the world. Whatever the reason. Oh, what if the 10th commander is beautiful? I didn't even think about that. What if the 10th commander of Blackbeard's crew is actually a beautiful woman or a beautiful man, and that's why he wants to give that person Hancock's devil fruit? Because regardless of your opinion of Katarina, she has a devil fruit, and as far as we've seen with Blackbeard, only Blackbeard can pull that off. Otherwise, his crew would have multiple devil fruits at this point. I'm still wondering when they're going to go after the slow fruit, but that's just me. As Blackbeard is wrecking the island looking for Hancock, Kobe is currently at the gates of the Kuja castle trying to get Hancock to come out peacefully because he doesn't know Blackbeard's here yet, but he would like to settle this with as little bloodshed as possible. Hancock obviously refuses and is getting ready to fight as well. While Hancock is getting ready to fight Kobe, Blackbeard, wrecking everything around him, sees a little boy running towards him. A little boy with dark skin, light hair, and black wings. And laser beams. And a sword slice that cuts the mountain that is behind the Kuja village. Blackbeard manages to block it with his haki, but Blackbeard, looking at him, goes, "Wait a second, are you a?" and then blocks it because he sees the PX on the kid's shoulder. So, yeah, this Seraphim class seems to be based on Lunarians. Lunarian children, for some reason. Maybe they're being bio-grown and they're actually aging normally? We need to know more about this, but we need to meet Vegapunk before we can know more about this. So, until Vegapunk shows up, questions upon questions. It's a lore One Piece chapter. Here we go. The battle unfortunately ends in a standstill. and we get the reveals of Hancock and Blackbeard's new bounties. I have them written down here. Hancock's new bounty is 1.659 billion, which is way higher than her 81 million it used to be. And Blackbeard's is 3.996 billion, which makes it higher than Luffy's. So Luffy goes back to being the lowest bounty emperor. As far as we knew, he wasn't, but now we got an update on Blackbeard. I'm going to guess because of all the crazy shenanigans that have gone on in the last few months. But in this standstill, Blackbeard's got Hancock by the neck. Kobe's on the ground. Not like dead on the ground, but Kobe is injured or just doesn't want to get up, whatever his reason. Or he's just really short compared to the two of them, because Hancock's a pretty tall woman and Blackbeard is really tall. But whatever the reason, half of the Marines and a good chunk of Blackbeard's crew have been turned to stone. Which means, with Hancock unable to use her devil fruit right now because Blackbeard's got her with the dark fruit, and both other sides being turned to stone, we're at a Mexican standoff here, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone's got a gun, except Kobe. But Kobe, being the negotiator, tells Hancock, hey, if you come with the Marines, we'll find a way to get Blackbeard off the island because he's got people turned to stone too. And Hancock says, fine, I'll let you guys leave if you let me go and, go away. And Blackbeard says, well, hang on a second. Yeah, you got some idiots of mine turned to stone, but as soon as I let you go, you're just going to turn me and the boy to stone. So they've all got guns to each other's heads at this point. And Blackbeard decides, you know what? Maybe I won't. And Hancock goes, well, if you take my devil fruit, even if another person gets my power, they won't be able to undo what I've done. Like, everyone she's turned to stone will be stone. Mind you, the Vice Admiral and Helmeppo have been turned to stone. Vasco Shot and Katarina have been turned to stone right now. So she's got some pretty important people stone formed right now. Blackbeard takes a look at her and just says, nah, I'll just kill you. So, I mean, I know the two of them can't hear him, but that is Blackbeard's opinion on his crew. That is Blackbeard's opinion on fate. Blackbeard is a firm believer in what happens to you is what happens to you. Nobody else is at fault here. So, yeah, he's ready to just earthquake, pound her in the face, take her fruit, and go home. He'd probably take the other two with them because, you got to extract the devil fruit out of them. Because I don't know what Vasco's got, or if Blackbeard just hasn't gotten something for him yet. But Blackbeard's goal is to get his whole crew with devil fruits. Maybe Vasco will get the slow fruit. But Blackbeard does not get to smash Boa Hancock in the face with his earthquake powers because Rayleigh shows up. That's right, just everyone's in this chapter. You got Shanks, you got Marco, you got Hancock, you got Kobe, you got Luffy, you got Blackbeard, you got Rayleigh now. Everybody's here. And Rayleigh tells Blackbeard, get off this island. Hancock, turn everyone back to normal. We'll de-escalate the situation. Invaders will go their separate ways. Deal? And it works. It works, but it was a lot closer than it sounds. I know Rayleigh, showed up. Former right hand of Roger shows up. Everything's going to be okay. He stopped, he stopped Kizaru from killing the Straw Hats in one go. But unfortunately, Rayleigh himself mentions that he is getting too old for this. And if it went to a head-to-head fight, he doesn't know if he could beat Blackbeard. Which means Luffy needs to be ready to beat Blackbeard. The old guard just can't handle it anymore. It is getting to the point where it's not because the old generation wants to leave. Their time is just up. Rayleigh is one of the last living members of his time. Speaking of members of his time, though, Shaki's with him, which is really cool. Not to mention the fact that Oda decided, hey, since I'm dropping bombs left and right, Shaki is a former empress of the Kuja. That's right, she used to be the captain of the Kuja pirates. I don't know if that means she's Hancock's mom, or if she's Hancock's grandmother, or if she's just, I'm not exactly sure how lineage works for the Kuja, but it's kind of cool to know that we got 3 queens right next to Rayleigh in this little grouping, so that's pretty cool. So a little more lore on Shaki there. So she was the leader of the Kuja, then joined the Rocks Pirates, then married Rayleigh. I'm going to say that's probably her life story, or at least her adult life story. I'm not really sure. Her childhood was like any other Kuja on an island where there's no men. But with that, Hancock is now contemplating her next moves, and the Navy ship is sailing home with a fresh report for HQ. The Marine Captain Kobe has been captured by the Blackbeard pirates. And according to Oda's little info box, news is spreading across the world. So, as much as we want Luffy to take a log pose and actually like go to an island for once, because he still hasn't done that since he came to the New World, Luffy is definitely going to change course, and Blackbeard is his next target. If Luffy finds out that Kobe is in danger, I think Luffy would not let that slide. Because unless Luffy firmly believes that Kobe can stand on his own feet, this is going to be like an Ace Luffy scenario where Luffy's like, hey, that's my little guy, you can't hurt my little guy, so I'm going to go kick your butt. But for now, it's all up in the air. I'm hoping next chapter we find out what Sabo's phone call was about. The Lunarian children. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I'm glad I thought about it just now. The other Lunarian child, according to Sandersonia and Marigold, the other Lunarian child looks like Hancock when she was a little girl. Now, the other one looked just like King, and I thought, okay, so that must be like Vegapunk, built the Pacifistas based on Kuma, so the Seraphims must be built based on King. Why does this one look like Hancock? She's not a Lunarian. She's a Kuja. Like, I know that means human, but as far as like locational race goes, Hancock is not Lunarian. So why does it look like her? And do the other Seraphims look like the other warlords? Is there a little Seraphim boy running around that looks like Mihawk? Is there one that looks like Buggy? That's why they replaced the warlords. They actually made the child versions of the warlords, gave them Lunarian traits, and sent them off to war. He literally replaced the warlords. I will put money on that. Well, I can't actually put money on that because there's no one to bet with right now. But I will call it here that the Lunarians, the other Seraphim class pacifistas, are going to look like the warlords as kids, which is going to be as adorable as it is terrifying. But anyways, I'm hoping next week we see about Sabo and that phone call. Maybe we find out what happened to Vivi. I'm hoping that's connected. Regardless, though, we're just going to have to wait till next week. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this chapter as much as I did, because boy, was it a hootenanny. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.